What is going on, everybody? My name is JoJo, and today I am very curious to talk about the new entry in the Evil Dead franchise, Evil Dead Rise. A twisted tale of two estranged sisters whose reunion is cut short by the rise of flesh-possessing demons, thrusting them into a primal battle for survival as they face the most nightmarish version of family imaginable. Okay, so Evil Dead. Evil Dead, a little backstory for me. My first experience with Evil Dead was the Fede Alvarez movie in 2013, Evil Dead. Scratch that. Actually, to prepare for the 2013 movie, I actually did watch the original Evil Dead. I didn't grow up watching the movies. No one really showed me that franchise, so it was just one of those things where I kind of sort of knew about it but never picked it up until 2013. So when that came out, I went back, watched the original to prepare for 2013. Then I saw the 2013 movie, which is to this day still one of my favorite gruesome movies. If I ever want to watch a horror movie that's just so messed up and twisted and carnage candy bloody, like one of those type of horror movies, Evil Dead 2013 is what comes to my mind. Now, this is going to be a spoiler free review. I'm not going to give anything away, just my general thoughts about the film. It's been 10 years since we had a new Evil Dead movie, and my first thoughts were we were going to get something back in the woods, a cabin, that setting. And this time around, we are at a high rise apartment, which is a brand new situation for the Evil Dead franchise. We've never really been outside of the woods before. And my first thought was like, I don't know about that. I feel like the setting is such a classic setting for the Evil Dead movies that I didn't want it to stray away from that. But I'm also very open-minded, and you just never know what they can do with the new setting. You know, we got to upgrade the franchise somehow. Now, after seeing the trailer, my first thought was quarantine. I felt like it was a very stylistic version of quarantine. You got people in an apartment complex locked in. There's a virus going around. People are running around, and there's just carnage and blood everywhere. That's what this movie reminded me of. Now, the pacing of this movie was pretty good. It did not just jump right in and just give you gore, gore, gore. You know, I mean, there was definitely a story that was being developed as the movie went on, and the craziness of the film eventually comes in gradually instead of it just being bam in your face. So I actually appreciated that. Now, Alyssa Sutherland, who plays Ellie, she's the mother of this film. She's the main demon deadite of this film. She killed it, pun intended. She was scary. Her line delivery was great. I loved the practical effects and the makeup that they used on her. Anytime that she was smirking or smiling, it was really scary and creepy. Like, that was a vision that you see in your nightmares, honestly. Like, I think she did wonderful. There was one scene that I think they did really well with was the peephole scene in the apartment, at the apartment door. We've seen it in the trailers. There's a peephole at the front door, and you can see the mother standing there smirking. That whole scene was very good. I liked it. Was very like a fishbowl wide angle view. You were seeing a lot of action going on in the hallway of the apartment complex through the peephole. That scene was very unique. I really enjoyed it. That was like a standout for me. Now, there are children involved in this film. A single mother with her three children, and the mother gets possessed. And throughout the movie, especially in the very beginning, there was a sense of motherhood, sisterhood. It was like this broken relationship between the sisters, and I would say somewhat disconnect between the mother and the children. I was expecting us to progress with that story arc. I wanted to see the mother fight for survival to get back to her children. I wanted the children to feel more for their mother. I did not get a lot of emotion from the mother and children. You know, things were happening I would assume people would be more um, shocked, stunned, horrified by what they were seeing from their mother or the children, and I didn't really get that because they're seeing their mother go through some horrific things, and I felt like they were just kind of watching it all unfold and just staring at her. It's probably because they were shocked. It's a shock, right? So maybe that's why. But I guess I just compare it to 2013's movie, and I wanted to see more emotional connection between the children themselves and or their mother. Something about horror movies and children sometimes doesn't sit well with me sometimes. Like, there's children in horror movies all the time, right? But you never really see them go through like crazy stuff up until this movie. I feel like I saw when I saw this movie, I was cringing, I was squirming when it came to the kids. These kids have to go through some crazy stuff to get through this film, and I was not expecting to see what I saw. I'll just leave it at that. Now, when it comes to the blood and the gore, I don't think this film was as gruesome as the 2013 Evil Dead. Now, this movie has plenty of blood. It has pretty gnarly kills and devices that were used throughout the apartment complex. That was unique and it was great and it was different. I enjoyed it, but I don't think I squirmed as much as I did when I saw the 2013 movie. Now, this movie does use a lot more CGI. There were some scenes that were going on with CGI that I could catch the CGI, and I was like, ooh, that doesn't look as good. Maybe they should have used something more realistic prosthetics. I think that's something that I appreciated with the 2013 movie. That one looked much more realistic in my opinion. When it came to the CGI, there was again a couple scenes that made me chuckle because I could tell that it was CGI, but that's where the I guess like the dark comedy comes in with Evil Dead. I have the 2013 movie ingrained into my head that I was expecting this to be 100% dark and serious and just messed up. Now this film is, but there is definitely some comedy elements in this film, and it worked for me. I chuckled, and once I saw some of the comedy playing out, I kind of brought myself back to reality. I was like, okay, they are going to throw in some fun stuff like they did with the old school Evil Dead movies. So I can't take this movie 110% serious. I just kind of took it more like 75% serious. I was trying to keep a blend in my head of the dark serious elements with the funny comedy elements that Evil Dead does, trying to keep them both in my head. I kind of get torn sometimes, like what do I want to see in this movie? I always lean towards the more dark serious approach, but I absolutely appreciated all the comedic relief. As we know, Evil Dead is typically set in a cabin or in the woods, something to do with that, and we do get a cabin woods type of scene in the beginning and the end of this film. But I think that was just for fluff and just to show the audience, hey, we are still in the woods. This is still Evil Dead. But it didn't really serve anything for the movie. It was just kind of thrown in there, I think, just to show that this is still a classic Evil Dead film. But the opening was cool. The opening was really neat. There was a couple things that were done in there that I had to look away from because it was just hard to see. And definitely enjoyed the opening. I think my biggest gripe with this movie was the character progression. Like I said earlier, there is a story arc when it comes to motherhood and sisterhood that didn't play out completely for me. So that fell a little flat for me, but I would assume most people go into an Evil Dead movie just for, carnage candy, not really for character progression. But I've always been someone that just really appreciates characters and their stories and seeing them progress or not progress, but getting to an end game. But overall, everybody, I really enjoyed this movie. I'm going to give this film a 7 out of 10. I think it progresses very well. The pacing was good. The blood, the carnage was great. There are some surprise elements that I did not see coming, especially towards the end of this film. Wasn't a huge fan of the character progression. Wanted to see a little bit more from that. But overall, this was a bloody good time. I absolutely recommend that you go see this in theaters. You'll appreciate it. But that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Did you enjoy this movie? Did you not? Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.